Welcome back to Crash Test Hockey, where I talk all things NHL. Now, this video is going to be about especially right-shot defensemen who I think the Leafs should add before the trade deadline. But before I dive into this, I just want to say, if you happen to be new to the channel, please smash that subscribe button. I'd sincerely appreciate it. And if you already have, and you're an oldie but a goodie, you know I love you. Let's begin here. Now, a little precursor before we get to this is that Jake Muzzen has recently been placed on the LTIR. So that opens up some cap space, right? Well, I don't know, because Toronto just came out recently saying that if Jake Muzzen is feeling healthy enough, they won't stop him from bringing him back into the lineup. And my answer to that is, why would you do that? The guy's already had 2 concussions this year. He's had issues in transporting the puck. He's taken a bit of a step back. Why not let him take the rest of the regular season off, bring him back at the earliest in the playoffs, and take advantage of that extra cap space? So we'll see what they do. But also keep in mind that any trade may have to involve another player from the Leafs going the other way in order to make the money fit, right? So I'm not going to get too involved with the math part of things, but let's begin. Starting with the Vancouver Canucks player Luke Shen. He's a right shot, 32 years old. He's making $850,000 against the cap this year and next. He's a perfect bruising defenseman who can drop the gloves. He's good at his zone, can clear the net. Also a former Leaf, by the way. I wouldn't be crazy about playing him in the top 4, but definitely in the bottom pairing, maybe alongside Sandin, for instance. Or you play him with Brody if you break up Morgan, Riley, and him on the second pairing. I just don't think I'd be playing him with Muzzen, is what I'm trying to get at. Next, we've got Josh Manson of the Anaheim Ducks, a righty who's 30 years old. He's going to be UFA after this season. He's coming off a $4.1 million cap hit. He's currently on the IR as of this video. Very similar player to Jake Muzzen as well. He's half decent at transporting the puck. Great open ice hitter. Good at clearing the net. That kind of thing. We'll see what the price is. Maybe it's a bit too high. I know Toronto has wanted this guy for a very long time. Well, let's move over to Chicago and talk about Calvin DeHaan. Now, he's a lefty, but he can also play right, which can make him very valuable, seeing as how we may or may not have Muzzen back, or even for the playoffs for that matter, right? He's 30 years old. I think he's going to be 31 soon, but he's making $4.55 against the cap. He'll be a UFA. They could do worse, right? He does have a bit of injury history, but right now he seems to be healthy and he's good defensively. Staying with Chicago, there's Conor Murphy, who might be the most unrealistic player I have on this list. He's a righty, he's 28 years old, making $3.85 million against the cap, but Chicago has already extended him for 4 more years at $4.4 million. He'd be perfect in their top 4, one of the most ideal guys I see on this list. He blocks shots, he hits, he does everything. But because of the extra term they've added, and who knows what Chicago's doing, are they going to continue to rebuild now? Because they're not making the playoffs. I don't know if they would be willing to give up a player like Murphy at this moment. Let's go over to the Winnipeg Jets and talk about Dylan Demelo, who's also a right shot. He's 28 years old, making $3 million against the cap, and he signed for 2 more seasons. He's decent defensively. He's not bad at transporting the puck either. I'm not crazy about putting him in the top 4, but it's plausible. The question here is, Winnipeg is sort of still in the chase for a playoff spot, although it seems quite unlikely at this point, and who knows what they'd want for him. Let's go to Dallas and talk about Yanny Hackenpaw, a right shot D, big, bruising, hulking defenseman. He's 29 years old. I wanted the Leafs to go after this guy in the offseason, and they didn't. He would have been a nice replacement for Bogosian. He's making $1.5 million against the cap now and for 2 more seasons after this. However, I definitely wouldn't play him anywhere than the bottom pairing. I don't think he can handle the minutes. Next, let's go to the New Jersey Devils and talk about Damon Severson, a right shot, 27-year-old who's making $4.16 plus against the cap. He's signed for 1 more season as well. Too much of a defensive liability there. Even if he can put up points, yeah, I'm going to shy away from that one. Let's go to Philly and talk about Rasmus Leinan, who is definitely not an analytics darling, which could be a reason why the Leafs don't check in on this guy. He is a righty. He's 27 years old, pretty young still, making $5.4 million against the cap. He's a UFA next season. He's already told Philly apparently that he's not going to resign. He wants to go to a playoff team. He does have that nasty element to him, which I think would be a nice fit in the playoffs, but you would definitely have to play him with a defensively responsible player. He's a bit prone to turnovers, etc. Let's stay in Philly and talk about Justin Braun, which might be the most realistic player on this list. Now, he's a righty. He's 35 years old, I know, but he's only making $1.8 million against the cap. He's good defensively. And he's been playing 18-plus minutes a night. He's been playing with Provorov on the top pairing for a lot of this season. So he could definitely handle top 4 minutes. Now let's talk about who I think might be the most ideal fit for Toronto. I just don't know how available he will be and at what price. And that's Scott Mapefield of the New York Islanders. He's a right shot. He's 29 years old. He's making $1.45 million this year and next. He could easily fit into that top 4. He's a bruising defenseman who hits, half decent at transporting the puck. He's really good defensively, exactly what they need. But why would the Islanders give him up? That's the question. Yeah, I know they're having an awful season right now, but they've been contenders for the past 2-3 years, ever since Trotz arrived, and I could easily see that team rebounding next season. So why would they give up a cheap top 4 defenseman right now? Doesn't make sense to me. And if they were going to trade him, Lamoriello would want an arm and a leg. Now let's go to a guy we've heard in the rumor mill for quite some time now, in Ben Chiarot of the Montreal Canadiens. Another guy who's not really an analytics darling. He takes a lot of penalties as well, but he's a nasty defenseman who plays that grinding kind of game in the playoffs. He's good in his own zone. Now, he's a left shot, but he can play right as well, so I could see him slotting into the top 4 there. He's 30 years old, making $3.5 million, and he'll be a UFA next season. Then there's Artem Zub, another guy who I think is unrealistic, mostly because I don't see Ottawa wanting to give this guy up. He's really good defensively. He's a gem they found out of the KHL, by the way. He's a right shot, 26 years old, making $2.5 million this season and next. He can play in the top 4. He can play in the top pair. And he's half decent at transporting the puck as well. But Ottawa is coming out of a rebuild right now, and I don't see why they would trade a guy who they have signed for cheap for one more season in their top 4, who works really well with this team, unless a club like Toronto overpays for him. Now let's go over to the Seattle Kraken and talk about Jamie Oleksiak. Now he's a left shot, but he plays right. He's one of the biggest bruising defensemen in the league right now. He's actually a plus in the plus-minus category, if I'm not mistaken. Now he's 29 years old, and he's signed for 3 more seasons after this one at $4.6 million. He'd be perfect in the top 4 for Toronto. Even if he's not a right shot, he can play on that side. This could be something that happens. Even though I haven't heard his name mentioned, it might be something that surprises us all. Next, let's stay with the Kraken and talk about Giordano, whom is a left shot. His veteran presence, he's good at moving the puck, but he's got a $6.7+ million cap hit. He's a UFA next season. The money is a little high on him there, and because of that, Seattle would probably have to retain. That would cost the Leafs even more. I just don't see it happening. Maybe he goes back to Calgary. Not out of the question. Next, let's go to the Arizona Coyotes and talk about the creme de la creme, Jacob Chikran, who's making just over $4+ million per year. He's a left shot, mind you, but Arizona has been playing him recently on the right side, maybe to up his trade value, get some more teams involved there. Signed for 3 more years after this one as well. The cost seems really, really high. I just don't know if the Leafs are willing to pay it. Then let's go to Dallas. Let's talk about John Klingberg. A righty, yes. He's offensively spectacular in the playoffs, but he's a liability defensively. Not what the Leafs need, although I have heard his name in the rumor mill. Then back to the Islanders. There's Zidane Ochara, who's making minimum right now. He is a left shot, though. I see him maybe as a 7th D for them, a depth guy, unless Muzzen doesn't come back and he slots in the bottom pairing and Sandin gets bumped up. He brings a lot of great intangibles with him as well as his leadership, so who knows. Back to Anaheim, and let's talk about Lindholm. It looks like Anaheim's going to re-sign him, though, and he is a left shot, so for that reason, I just don't know if he's high on the Leafs list. Then I've got a couple of stragglers here in Brett Kulak, a left shot from the Montreal Canadiens. He'll be a UFA. He's making $1.85 million against the cap right now. And Robert Hagg from the Buffalo Sabres, who's also a lefty and will be a UFA, and he's making 1.6. Let me know what you think of this list. If you think that there's any players that I'm missing, who you'd like to see them go after, down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, which will alert you when my next video comes out. If you want to support me and the channel, you can do that, by the way, through my crowdfunding site at Buy Me a Coffee. You'll find a link on my page or in the description box. And please remember to be kind to each other in this crazy COVID multiverse we're living in right now, and I'll see you soon.